Well, y'all, you knew we had to do it. Here comes the panic. What if there's a fraction in the equation? Take a deep breath. Make this the title of the next page in your math notebook. After you've done that, close it up. Stop the panic. And concentrate. All right, here we go. All right, so I'm going to remind you again about fraction operations. I know back in level, maybe 10, I asked you to make a cheat sheet. If you're not comfortable with your fraction operations from 4th, 5th, and 6th grade, make yourself a cheat sheet to pull out so that when you have to add, subtract, multiply, or divide fractions, you can. So I'm just going to make up two quick fractions. We'll do 2/5 and 1/4, let's say. So I'm going to add those or subtract those. Adding and subtracting have the same algorithm. 2/5 plus 1/4 or 2/5 minus 1/4. Either of those. In order to add or subtract fractions, they have to have the same denominator. These do not. So I can't add them as is. I have to figure out a denominator they can both be changed to an equivalent fraction for. In this case, I think it's 20. 5 times 4 is 20, so 2 times 4 is 8. 2/5 and 8/20 are equivalent fractions. 4 times 5 is 20, so 1 times 5 is 5. 5/20 and 1/4 are equivalent fractions. Now I can add those and get 13/20. Subtracting, same deal. I would change them to 8/20 minus 5/20 and subtract them to 3/20. So if you need to write that down, that's how you add and subtract fractions. Find a common denominator. When you multiply fractions, it has its own algorithm. That's the easiest one. 2/5 times 1/4. That's the one where you just get to multiply across, and that's it. So 2/5 times 1/4 is 2/20, and that's it. That one's really easy. But again, you may forget it. So again, if you need to make a cheat sheet so that when you have to deal with fractions, you can take that out and it'll help, that'd be great. 2/5 divided by 1/4. To do that, this was the hardest one, it seems, to remember. This one you do 2/5 times, which is the easy operation, the reciprocal of the second fraction. So 2/5 divided by 1/4 is the same as 2/5 times 4/1, which is 8/5 or 1 3/5, depending on what you prefer. So if you need to make a cheat sheet so you don't panic enormously when you have fractions, please write that down. Add and subtract, you need a common denominator. Multiply, you just multiply across. And divide, you multiply by the reciprocal. That means the flipped over version of the second fraction, reciprocal of the second fraction. All right, so if you're not comfortable with your fractions and you're gonna panic whenever you see one, please make a cheat sheet and get comfortable. This is all from 4th, 5th, and 6th grade, nothing new. No need to still be panicking about fractions at this point. Not too bad. So back in level 10, when we saw a fraction in the equation, I said just don't bother trying the visual strategy. That's still a fine approach. I did pick ones today specifically where you could possibly do the drawing strategy, and I'm going to show it to you. It doesn't mean you have to if it makes you uncomfortable, but I do want to try. There will be times when you can't. I chose specific ones, and I'll show you as I go. But it may be best to just skip the visual strategy when you see a fraction and do the inverse operation strategy. So I'm going to start there either way. Looking here, 1/2 times -6x plus 10 equals 1. All right, so when I see this is a distributive property problem. So I've got to take that 1/2 and multiply it by this and by this. So this is fraction times a whole number. So remember also from level 10, when I have to multiply a fraction or deal with a fraction, I just move out to the side. I don't try to do it right here because I tend to get confused. So I need like a lot of scratch paper to do my fraction work. So I'll just do it over in the common sense area since I know I'm not going to do that. So 1/2 times -6 is what I need to know first. I can tell that that's going to be negative, positive times negative. Figure that out first. 1/2 times 6, to make this a fraction, to multiply a fraction, I imagine a whole number having a denominator of 1. 6 over 1 is the same as 6. So that way I can do the easy multiply across, multiply across. So 1 times 6 is 6. 2 times 1 is 2. So 1/2 times negative 6 is negative 6 over 2, which is negative 3. So 1/2 times negative 6x is negative 3x. Okay, 1/2 times 10 is next. Again, way off to the side. Give yourself room to work with your fractions. 1/2 times 10, that's 1/2 times 10 over 1, which is 10 over 2, which is 5. So again, it's not really that bad. You know, if you just don't panic because you see the fraction and assume you can't do it, you probably can. So now I've got negative 3x plus 5. And now I'm really, this one worked out. And again, that's why I chose it. Now the fractions are gone. We distributed the fraction. That won't always be the case. You may end up with a fraction in here that you've got to deal with. But hey, for now, I chose this one specifically that wouldn't happen. So now you can subtract 5, negative 4, and divide by negative 3. Divide by negative 3. Oh my gosh, you can't do it. 4 divided by 3. Yes, you can. First of all, negative 4 divided by negative 3. So it's negative divided by negative. I know it's going to be a positive number. And 4 divided by 3. It's very easy. What is 4 divided by 3? It's 4/3. You can do that with any division. You can just go cheap with a fraction. So it's 4/3 or 1 1/3 if I did everything right. And I hope I did. Okay, not that bad. Let me show you the drawing strategy. You may hate this and never want to do it again, but I'm going to show you something to do. So remember how this works, right? You take this and you draw this many of what's in the parentheses. So what I can think of doing is I can draw what's in the parentheses. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of those, and a 10. And instead of drawing it multiple times, I only need it half a time. So I could, to draw it half a time, just say, well, half of these 6x's is the 3, and half of the 10 is 5. Hey, not that bad, huh? Now, again, I chose a number where that worked. You know, if this had been a 7 instead, and I said, well, what's half of 7 of them, then it gets harder because it doesn't work out evenly. But sometimes the drawing strategy can help. Negatives, and now I'm ready to treat it just like this, right? Take away 5, take away 5. 3 of those equals negative 4. And each of those would be opposite of x. Each opposite of x would be negative 1 1/3, which means x would be positive 1 1/3. You don't have to use the drawing strategy. I just want to show you that sometimes it's a possibility. So if you don't like that thing I did at the beginning where I did half, it's okay. But I am going to do it on the next one too. All right, let's do one together. Similar problem. Take a moment, pause, and write it down. And when you're ready to work it out, unpause. All right, so I'm going to start here because this is my more recommended strategy. I chose this one like the last one where the fractions are going to go away after we multiply. That won't always be the case. You may, after that, have to multiply and add fractions like you did in level 10. But since we already learned that in level 10, I didn't want to overkill it again today. So 2/3 times 6x. I'm going to go ahead and add the opposite right away. Plus negative 9 equals negative 36. My first move is to distribute the 2/3. 2/3 times 6 and 2/3 times negative 9. Let's do that way off to the side. Don't try to do it in your head. Don't try to squeeze it in this little space where you can't fit it into what you're doing. Give yourself plenty of room so that you don't make a mistake with the fractions and you don't panic and have a bunch of slop that you can't read. So 2/3 times 6 That's 2/3 times 6. 2 times 6 is 12. 3 times 1 is 3. And 12/3, 3/3 is 1, 6/3 is 2, 9/3 is 3, 12/3 is 4. So 2/3 times 6x is just 4x. Again, I chose them on purpose to where we'd get a whole number here after the multiplying. That won't always be the case, but that will allow me to draw it, and that's why I picked those. Okay, next, 2/3 times -9. I already know that's going to be negative, so I'm going to start there. 9 over 1, 2 times 9 is -18. 3 times 1 is 3. And 18 divided by 3 is 6. So 2/3 times -9 is -6. And now I'm ready to solve this any old way that I always do. Add 6, add 6. 4 times x equals 42. Divide by 4, divide by 4. You'll notice that's a little off. I can't do exactly 40. 40 divided by 4 would be 10. 44 divided by 4 would be 11. 42 is halfway in between, so that would be, x would be 10.5. And that's it. So it's really not so bad, I don't think. You just have to calm down and give yourself room to do the work. I'm going to show you the visual strategy. I'm going to right here, not always an option, but here it is. So just to give you an idea, if you're up for it, check this out. So I want to draw this many times. So I'm going to draw it once. I'm going to draw it once very specifically. I'm going to put my x's like that, and my -9 here, and my -36. Now I need 2/3 of it. So that's less than a whole group of what I see there. So you'll notice I drew my x's in thirds, 1/3, 2/3, 3/3. I drew them in those groups. So I'm going to now take, I only want 2/3 of it. So that's really, I want 2 out of the 3 groups of x's. And I want 2/3 of this as well. If I drew that the same way, that would be like 3 -3's to make that -9. And I would want those as well. So that's how I do 2/3 of it, and I don't need this anymore. I keep only 2/3 of what was in the parentheses. Sneaky little trick. If that made sense, go for it. If it didn't, just don't worry a ton about it. You'll notice I ended up with 4x like over here and -6 like over here. So it worked out to be the same thing. Now I can add 6 and add 6. Oh, I treated this like it was positive, didn't I? That's why I got an off answer over there. You probably caught that. I'll fix it over here. And now I'm going to get 4x equals -30. I treated that like it was positive 36, my mistake. I'll go back and fix it. And now I would have to figure that out. That looks like a calculator one or a not even one. I think that's going to be x equals -7.5, not 10.5. So let me go back over to here and fix that. So -36 plus 6 should have been -30, and -30 divided by 4 should have been -7.5. Sorry. I didn't panic, but I did make a mistake. But now with the fraction. Take that. I don't know if that would take that situation. So y'all, I hope you can do this without panicking when you see a fraction. You know, it's just part of getting more comfortable with numbers. Fractions, which you learn in 6th, 7th, and 4th, 5th, and 6th grade, they're just going to be a part of life from now on. So get comfortable with them. Make yourself a cheat sheet. When you see them, don't panic. If you need to watch this again, please do. If not, I will see you on the next one.